Oh.
Fish, unless there's at least 4 inches of ice, and that's with the safety.
Oh, you gotta love it. The eyeballs going, ooh. Oh, wow. That's the biggest one yet. Big jumbo perch. Welcome to the Bro Road Show, the Ice Experience. Thanks for joining us, and happy belated New Year's. I hope your year's off to a good start and that you have decided to do what you wanted to do in the New Year's. The Bro Road Show Ice Experience is about getting the most out of your ice fishing experience, and we want to help you with tips and tricks and stuff we learn across the belt of ice fishing, coast to coast, and almost down to Alabama. They got snow today, so just want to welcome everybody, and let's bring on Sam. He's my co-host and my right-hand man, lure designer from Northland Fishing Tackle, artist, and also tournament angler. Sam, what's going on in the area? What do you see for ice, and how's the bite?
Hey, bro, it's going good. We got quite a bit of snow over the break here, so that's made things a little bit harder to get to, but the ice is looking good. Fishing has been okay. Walleye's a little bit tougher. I was up on Red Lake over the New Year, and it was a pretty tough bite out there, but we were a little bit limited to where we could get because some cracks opened up. Since then, they have all healed, so I think travel's good on Red Lake. And then the panfish guys are getting them here and there, and yeah, overall it's been okay. We've had some tough weather, but for the weather, the bite's been all right.
Well, typically this time of year, it does tend to slow down, but there's still some hot stuff going on in the area. Yeah. But we've had such a barometric pressure ride. Today it bottomed out, and I talked to some people yesterday that were hammering fish, and today they're getting a lot of, swim-bys or drive-bys, we call them, and not interested in biting. But we're gonna start talking about a little bit later in the show how we trigger those fish, because just because they ain't biting don't mean you got to give up, and you have to make it happen, especially if you're a guide. But so we're going to be giving away some stuff tonight. Sam, how could they go about winning the prize pack?
Yep. So we got the Northland prize pack again, the light up spoon, the mug, and the Northland tackle. So make sure to like, comment your questions, and share the post. And then also announcing for Nick Cox, we're doing another 4-inch Razor Scout auger. So awesome little auger to poke around, use with your underwater cameras. So make sure to like, comment your questions, and share the show, and that'll enter you into win, and we'll pick a winner at the end of the show.
Oh, and I want to congratulate last week's winner, Even Mallison. Congratulations. There's a lot of stuff coming your way. One of these really nice mugs, and no, there's nothing in it. Just mine has something in it. And the auger and all that tackle and that giant spoon. I don't know what you're going to catch on that giant spoon, but it sure is nice to have hanging up, especially in your den, your man cave, your she shed, whatever you want to do with it. I want to also announce, too, that we're going to have Will Pappenfuss on here in a little bit here, and you definitely want to stay tuned to that, because he is the hipster of the new modern scene, what's going on in as far as fishing and also on the ice. So he's definitely going to bring some good stuff to be talking about. So Sam, we are hearing stuff about some vehicles going through, but right now we got a lot of good ice in the area. Somebody actually went through down by Gull Lake, but they're driving in an area that's really late to freeze. Deep water lakes, please do not drive unless you drill. And I know it's a lot of work. Driving on the ice is work. Everywhere that I go, I drill, unless there's really thick ice and you're on unilaterally good ice and everybody's everywhere. But definitely this time of year, it's a lot of work. It is.
Even some of those smaller lakes that got that early snow seem to be a little bit behind. So I'd say the ice conditions are very unpredictable this year. Like I said, most things are buttoning up, but go where you know, not where you think you know. So
well, and Neil in central Wisconsin says he has 12 inches of ice. So that's a really good start. And we do have good ice up to 16, even 18 inches on the really shallow lakes, but it's not everywhere. Also, on Bemidji, we're gonna get the lowdown from Will when we bring him on here in just a few moments. But right now, they're catching fish, and some of the reports I've gotten in are Leech Lake walleyes, lots of walleyes. You're going to see a lot of walleyes, but you got to trigger them. And so you really want to pay attention to later in the show how we're going to make that happen. Even on Winnie, Winnie has a lot of small walleyes in it right now, and I know some people went from Red Lake down to Winnie and had some action, but the walleyes were a little bit slower, but they're catching jumbo perch and eel pout. So the eel pout are starting to go over there, and well, Happy New Year to you. But so definitely the bite is on the way, and so I want to talk about some of the stuff. I've also heard Lake of the Woods. They're starting to get out there, and all the resorts are taking people, and people are catching fish, and that's why that destination is so popular. Is they're catching lots of fish, especially on the west end around the islands, and of course the east end has some big fish too. So mobility is everything, and still, if you're heading to this area, I recommend bringing a snowmobile. And Sam, tell us how the four-wheeling went when you were out here.
The four-wheeling is getting a little tough. As Bro knows, I am restricted to only a four-wheeler. I do not have a snowmobile yet, and me and Bro are talking about ideas of how to thaw it out in my garage because it's a frozen ice block right now. So yeah, if you got a snowmobile, that would be huge. I'd imagine that once we get a week or two behind the storms, the guys out with snowmobiles will be packing down some trails, and four-wheelers will be doable again. But the snow has definitely made lake travel a little trickier. So
yeah, and I want to say a big shout out, Sam. The Ultimate Sports Show is going to be going on here in Novi, Detroit, the big town of Detroit in Michigan, and I absolutely love that show. I wish I could be there. You know, somebody's got to take these big groups, but anyway, so if you're in that area, definitely go to the show. If you're, it's a little bit of a drive, but it's definitely worth your time. They build a lake inside the show, and there's boats on the lake, and they fish for the fish. And when I was there, I didn't know if I was supposed to catch them, but I was catching big trout on my ice fishing rods, and they hammer plastics and stuff. So I was going, any chance I went over to that tank and I'd flip it in there, and they would just race over to eat it. Even in captivity, those trout are an absolute blast. And I remember going up after there's a bass seminar, and I was up next at this big trout tank and on Lake, the Ultimate Lake is what they call it. And I got on the dock and I dropped a little mud bug with a mayfly, and the fish were racing from 20 feet away to hit it. So it's not even fair. They had to throw big bass spinners and crankbaits, which, you know, you don't get them that much, but they absolutely crush them. But definitely go out to the Ultimate Sports Show, and hello to Joe Reimer, the Frank's crew, and Brian and Dan. Don't be so crabby, Dan. And then also everybody, wish I could be there and enjoy your show. But now, coming up here, we have a very special guest coming on up, Will Pappenfuss. And if you don't know him, you will, because Will Pappenfuss is a tournament angler in the summer, walleye hardcore angler, and he takes a lot of people's money because he wins. And he's got he has to build new racks for all his trophies. I've yet to fish with him in open water because he's fishing every day. I'm fishing every day somewhere else. But anyway, he's also on the ice. This is where he carves his niche, because this is a show about ice fishing. So we could talk about summer accolades, but he's hardcore ice. Then he puts his focus to panfish, and he does fish walleyes and stuff. But look at these big crappies he catches. This guy's just like how I am right now. I absolutely love catching those big giant panfish, and he is after it, and I'm glad he could come on. Come on out, Will. How you doing, Will?
Good. How are you guys?
Hey, good. How'd you like that intro?
that was a little, over the top, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So Will
So Will
manages
manages
the Northwoods
the
bait,
Northwoods bait,
and
and
he knows
he knows
what's going on in the
what's
area.
going on
But
in the area. But
I was gonna
I was gonna
say,
say,
what
what
is the bite
is
going
the
on in
bite going
Bemidji,
on in
and how
Bemidji,
much
and how
ice
much
and
ice
surrounding
and
lakes?
surrounding lakes? You know, I thought tonight, I went on a Lake Bemidji tonight, and I thought to see a little bit more slush out there, because last Tuesday I was out there, and there was right when the big snow hit. There was probably about a foot of snow out there that hit, and I had my truck out. There was probably 14 inches of ice at the time, and I mean there was trucks and everything else that were getting stuck, wheelers, so I was kind of hesitant to go out. But tonight I found maybe 4 inches of snow on the lake, and 15 to 15 and a half inches of ice, and not much slush on the lake at all. I drilled a hole. There was a little bit that came up, but I mean, there's no reason you couldn't even stand in and fish if you wanted to. So maybe an inch of slush, a half inch. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, it sounds
Oh, it
great.
sounds
It's
great.
developing.
It's developing. Yeah, it's good to see. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. We're supposed to get 3 to 5 inches, they said, but the last time they said 3 to 5, we got 12 to 14. So you just never know in Minnesota anymore.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, Will, Northland's been working
Northland's been working with,
and he's always been a good
he's always
supporter
been a
of
good
ours.
supporter of ours.
Will, what is your
Will, what is
favorite
your
Northland
favorite
meal?
Northland meal? What's that? One more time.
What's your favorite
What's your
Northland
favorite
lure?
Northland lure? For walleyes, you can't get away from a buckshot. I mean, no matter what new ones I try, no matter what else I throw down, I always end up going to a buckshot. Number two would be the new coffin spoon. That's really been popular. That's really been catching fish. It takes a buckshot and a macho minnow basically and mashes it together, and you can't get much better than those.
Is there a time where you
Is there a
prefer
time
one or
where
the
you
other?
prefer one or the other? If they're really eating it, and a lot of times if you use, the buckshots and stuff like that, they have a little bit smaller treble hook on it. So if I'm gonna, if they're really feeding hard and I miss a few, I'm gonna throw a coffin spoon down because the hook's a little bit bigger on the bigger size, like the macho minnow is too. So those are kind of the two different times I would use those.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Well,
a lot of people know you as walleye Will,
walleye.
but when it comes to ice fishing, you also chase after panfish quite a bit. Tell us a little bit what you do to find those big slab crappies and big bluegills.
A lot of time and a lot of effort. To be honest, I've lived in Bemidji since I think it was 2014. I moved up here for college. I went to college for 4.5 years, moved to Grand Rapids for a year, and then ended up coming back because I just missed it a lot, and it's hard to move away from here. Even when you're just out on the road and stuff, you want to get back. So, but I put a lot of time and effort over the last 6-7 years around here. I came up here in high school at the time, just picking lakes, drilling holes, marking things off a checklist. I mean, when I was a freshman, I think my first winter I had a whole checklist, like a notebook of which lakes I wanted to try, cross it off if it sucked basically, and then go to the next one, and just stuck with those ones that did good.
Yeah, and for up here, I can say, I was in college too. You got to keep up with it because these lakes change a lot. You get more pressure and whatnot. So it's not you find the lakes and keep going on them. So to stay on the fish, you really have to get after it and work at it for sure.
Yeah, and after a while, once you get a few good ones in, you almost can develop like basically a pattern. So, early season, I want to hit these spots and these lakes. Okay, late season, I did really good on this lake and this spot, so then we switch to that one. And you kind of just keep bouncing around. You get a pattern over the next couple of years. So if you want to catch a couple big ones, you know exactly what spot to go to, what time of day, and what to use.
Hey, Will, our producer Kai is saying we're having some feedback. Do you have the app open or the web page open on any other tabs on your computer?
I don't. I got a speaker because my computer died.
Oh, okay.
But is it better now?
Try that. Perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
Awesome. Okay,
there
now
we go.
I'm going to start. I held back because I didn't want to get the echo thing. So you're a big time bluegill hunter and everything. Could you give a fishing tip to those who are chasing big bluegills and crappies? I mean, for our area, it's totally different than some other areas. Could you give them a tip?
Biggest tip I would do is, the easiest way to find them is pick basically the basin areas of the smaller lakes. So pick smaller lakes to start with. If there's one basin in there, and by basins, deep depression out in the middle, nothing too deep. The deepest I'd say is, maybe 30 feet, 32 feet, something like that. But pick the smaller lakes and go there and see where those fish are setting up. If you start catching fish, in a basin, okay, so they're on this lake, this spot, this time of year. I'm going to go to this lake and try it. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the thing is, if you pick smaller lakes to start with, you pick up on little things on what time of year. Okay, it's January. I got this amount of ice. These fish are out in the middle. They're out deep because there's not as much oxygen in the weeds. That's probably going to be the easiest time to target. So like right now to, mid-February, late February, before they start moving back into the weeds again. They're easiest to find. They school up. They're easy to find. Not necessarily easy to catch, sometimes easy to catch. But at least you can see where those fish are setting up. And you can take that tactic from that lake and go try different lakes. But definitely the biggest tip, I would start with smaller lakes and go from there.
That's a great tip. Thanks.
All right. Well, I don't know if we mentioned, but Will also works at Northland's Bait and Tackle, the local bait shop in Bemidji. So I'm sure you get a lot of people coming in looking for lakes. For someone coming up in the greater Bemidji area looking for walleyes, we have Red, Cass, Winnie, Bemidji, Leech. Where would you recommend they go?
Red's, the biggest one. It's everybody wants to get there right away. It freezes right away. The bite's really good right away. You can go set up on the 7 to 10 feet of water right away. Early ice do really good, but this time of year everything kind of starts slowing down, and a lot more people get up there and it gets pressured more. So like Lake Bemidji is probably one of the best lakes you can go to other than Red or Lake of the Woods and stuff like that, just because all you have to do is walk out to the first break, 12 to 15 feet of water on the weed line, and usually we get good ice this time of year, like and around Christmas, New Year's and stuff. Not a lot of people fish it. I mean, once they can get their wheelhouses out and stuff, they do. But like this time of year is perfect. You can walk out if you want to take a wheeler, sit up there for the afternoon, evening bite, and you can actually do pretty good.
Well, and Bemidji is close to 10,000 acres, and I think people don't realize what a giant lake that really is. And it's right in town, but it's still got a lot of real estate.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not catching walleyes, there's plenty of jumbo perch around. There's northerns. There's eel pound. I mean, usually every time I go out there, I'm at least catching fish, whether or not they're big fish or a lot of fish, but you're at least catching something.
So let's get into some really hardcore stuff here for the panfish anglers out there. How long do you stay at a hole before you move? And then do you use spoons for panfish?
Every lake is different. If I'm fishing in the weeds, most of the time I'm going to be sitting in the same hole if I can find a good clump of weeds underneath me, because basically the fish come to you, and it's kind of hard to bounce around and stay on them in the weeds. Usually they end up either sitting in the weeds and then coming out at a short period of time in the mornings and evenings for that witching hour. But if I'm out in the basin and stuff, I'm definitely going to be bouncing around before I even mark any fish. I'm not going to drop into that hole until I find a fish. And like technology now, Panoptics, Live Scope, Mega Live, Active Target makes it that much easier out in the basin and stuff to be able to find those fish. And you don't even have to drop down before you find them. It saves you that much time.
That's awesome. And so, as far as spoons go, what would be your percentage of time that you would use a spoon for a crappie or bluegill versus maybe a tungsten bait?
And also about when basin versus weedline fish, if that plays a role in your decision.
Yeah, so if I'm going to fish in the weeds, usually it's going to be early ice before we get probably a foot of ice, like 12 inches of ice. That's when it seems that the weeds start dying a lot, and that's when they really start moving out. So if I'm walking out still taking wheelers before a foot of ice, I'm going to probably be using spoons right away, just because those fish are still got that fall pattern going. They're still hungry. Most of the times I'm going to be using tungstens, just because those bigger fish sometimes don't want to eat a spoon that good. I mean, a lot of times if you have more than one or two on the screen, they'll eat a spoon really good. But if you have a single that comes in, 9 times out of 10, you're going to need a small little tungsten jig with a waxy on there to get them to go.
Perfect. And Sam, you were going to going
Yeah.
on a question here.
So working at the bait shop there, what's been the hot Northland product this year? I know you commented on some of your favorites, but is there one that people are coming in looking for the most?
Definitely the coffin spoon. Yeah, those diehard Macho Minnow guys, yeah, those diehard buckshot guys, and mashing those two together, everybody's just been. I haven't been able to keep them in stock, and we can't get them yet. I mean, it's just like whenever we get them, they're gone. So it's
I know
been crazy for those this year.
It's
What's the number
awesome.
one color that people are asking for?
Wonder Bread.
Really?
There's definitely been a big Wonder Bread craze the last year. I mean, everybody's coming out with different Wonder Bread colors. And I mean, anything Wonder Bread, pink Wonder Bread, green Wonder Bread, everything. I mean, they're flying off the shelves. It's crazy.
I didn't know there was Wonder Bread in the lakes around here.
I didn't either, but apparently.
So right there in town, you got accesses. Are pretty much all the accesses drivable? Can you drive on it, all of them?
Yep. There was guys taking houses out in front of Northwoods there today. It's a little bunched up there like it usually does, but it looked like somebody cleared it off enough so people can get out. The Cameron access is good. There's a road out of there. Someone has plowed, so you can get out there real easily. I haven't been down on the south end to check down there, but the Lavinia access on the east side's good. But I think, a lot of people were kind of asking about, well, how much ice? Is there slush? Is there snow? I told them, I was like, last week I was out and I haven't heard a whole lot of people going out. But after tonight, I'd say you can get just about anywhere with the truck. I had 15 inches of ice. Obviously stay away from the current areas and stuff, but pretty consistent 15 inches everywhere I've been.
That's fantastic. So what do you recommend for people traveling on the lakes with let's say a half-ton truck? The DNR recommends 14 to 16 inches, don't they? So you wouldn't go till you had, 14 or 15?
Yep, and I had 15 inches, everywhere I checked. Should be, I would definitely bring my truck out there again, but if you have a car or something, I probably wouldn't go trying to rip through the slush unless you have four-wheel drive or something, but other than that, you should be good pretty much everywhere out there on the north end for sure.
That's awesome. And Sam,
I want to loop back to the Wonder Bread color a little bit because it's something we've been pretty proud of at Northland. So we've been working on our glow, trying to get a better, longer lasting glow. And I think that's one of the reasons that Wonder Bread color is so popular is that coffin spoon has really, really good glow in that white base of the Wonder Bread. Will, how important is glow to you in lure selection? How often are you glowing up your lures, and when do you rely on glow the most?
So when I'm out, I usually have either 2 jigs or 2 spoons tied up. Because I hate switching out jigs and tungstens and retying 3-pound line in the dark, and it's real pain. And I've learned that the last couple of years it's a lot better to have more rods tied up.
Yeah.
But definitely, probably the last, half hour before light, I definitely switched to my glow jig because I definitely mark more fish. Like if you're not seeing a lot of fish right away in the evening, like you were, drop down something that glows really super bright, like the Wonder Bread's really super bright, down there, and you definitely mark more fish. I don't know if it necessarily gets them to eat better, but it definitely attracts them more, and sometimes it drives them nuts.
For sure.
So, Will, do you ever go to just a plain hook for any type of fish and use live bait just out on a rig or anything?
Sometimes, if I have a dead stick down, I will. Most of the time. Other than that, I'm usually just rocking a spoon most of the time.
And we just had a great question about good apps for barometric pressure, and I think it's Game and Fish barometric pressure app, and it goes right on your phone, and I have it here. I can bring it up real quick. It is right here. And so it'll tell you, it'll even rate the day. And see, right now I wouldn't even go out. It's dropping off the map. So, but you still got to go. If it shows bad, you still got to go. The bad thing is if you get the upgrade and you see days like this, well, you can't catch fish if you stay at home, so you still got to go. But that day doesn't look too good. So that's the only bad thing is this thing shows you way ahead. But that's a great question. Do you have anything to add with the barometric pressure, Will? Do you ever follow that stuff?
Yeah, I actually have the same app, and I I use it every time I go out because it's, I have guys with me all the time and they're like, well, they're not eating. I'm like, well, just give it a couple minutes. There's a major coming at this time. Let's just give it another 10 minutes. And, 9 times out of 10, it usually turns on when that hits. So.
Well, and that app is on, isn't it? On. I mean,
oh, it's crazy how accurate it is.
And that was the Game and Fish app, wasn't it?
Yep, I think it's fishing and hunting or game fish and hunt or something like that. It is.
Well, why don't you guys talk about what for those of you that don't know the barometric pressure, Will and Bro, talk a little bit about what is the prime numbers you want the pressure sitting at, because it's when you first started teaching me about that, Bro, it's a lot smaller than you think it would be. The switches.
Well, of course, if it's on the upswing or stable, and when you get those readings that are in the high 29, 98 to about 30.05, we might have to bring the lures back in to get repainted. What do you think, Will?
I was going to say 29 is about right on when I like to see it.
Yeah, I do like it when it pops up there a little bit. If it crashes, and I've seen this on Bemidji. Now I haven't done tournaments there in a while, but on Bemidji, where there'll be a school of walleyes and all you catch are northerns. When the barometric pressure just bottoms out, they just get mad. They don't want to feed; they want to kill everything, and you'll get bit off over and over. If you put a big minnow down, it's gone, and so it just seems like the only fish that doesn't disappoint is a pike.
Yeah, and Lake Bemidji has a lot of them.
Yeah, hey. But when the pressure goes high and the walleyes and panfish bite, they don't care. They just kind of do their thing.
Yeah, pike, exactly. But
pike biting off lures have provided a paycheck or two for me, so we can't hate on them too much.
No,
well, that's what I say too. In the bait business, everybody comes in. Oh, I broke off on a pike. And it's like, as much as I hate them, it's good for business.
It's good for business.
And they wanted to know the name of that. I can't find it on my phone. It's the game and Salooner Table Fishing Game app, or Game and Fish, hunting and fishing.
Yeah, I think it's just fishing and hunting. It's fishing and hunting, I want to say, and it looks like it's got 2 fish on it. It's blue in the background, and it's got lines right in the middle of it.
Yeah, what a fantastic thing! And one thing, what happens, physically, as the pressure gets lower, there's less weight. The weight of the air is less, and even in water, there's weight on water, and so the air bladder, it'll actually expand in their cavity and make them feel less hungry. And when it actually get higher pressure, it shrinks it. And I have never had that problem. I could eat a pizza if it's high or low pressure. So but that seems to be what's happening. And then if you ever notice when you're out there and the pressure is really, really low or high, the water level changes in your hole. And that's something that gives you a little hint on what's going on. But definitely and then as far as the people traveling to the area, any cautionary things or recommendations besides fishing? Where would you have people stay? There's a ton of places to stay around there. If people want to visit Bemidji area for the first time, what would you recommend?
Rutgers is a good one for sure. That's right by the shop on the north end of Lake Bemidji. They have cabins and hotel rooms there. Easy to get on right on the Northwoods access right there. That's what a lot of people that come up and ask I usually recommend. Otherwise, there's plenty of hotels on the south end. There's resorts, if you stay up by the Black Duck area, I think there's a couple resorts out there that plow over there and do stuff. So otherwise there's, we actually have people starting to rent houses out here. So if you have any questions, you can stop in at the shop at Northwoods there. Give us a call, 218-444-BAIT if you got any questions. We can always direct you in the right direction too. So. And
then another one. And is there anywhere for people to clean fish? I get this question all the time. When they come to the area, do you guys do it there? Do you know anybody that does it?
The state park is open in the summertime. For sure, I know they have. They have a fish cleaning shack there.
I think they do. I was trying to think of another one, but
there's not a whole lot.
Other than that, we don't have the luxuries that some of the Dakota people have out in Devil's Lake and whatnot with those public shacks. But
Well, like on like a couple of shows ago, there's one at Federal Dam, and then there's one in Walker, but they're not open in the wintertime, I don't think. So you definitely got to plan ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
and
Like,
like
Will, I want to thank
I-
you for coming
I
out.
believe Rutgers does.
Oh, Rutgers does.
I
Okay.
believe they have one there.
Well, we appreciate having you on the show here tonight. And anybody traveling that way, stop in at Northwoods Bait, visit with Will, and definitely watch as he wins money. And in the summertime, you do walleye tournaments and league tournaments. What are you going to be fishing next summer?
I'm gonna be doing the AM Weekend Walleye Series again, and I'll be doing the Growlhog Walleye Shootout again, I believe, and a couple other ones too as well.
Well, that sounds fantastic, and good luck on that. And have a great winter. Thanks for coming out. Always a great guest.
Yeah, we'll have to get out.
For sure. Let's go get some big gills.
Yeah, I'm game.
Awesome. Thanks for coming out. Well, Sam, that was a great interview. Now, we still want to remind people there's still a chance to win. How can people win tonight?
Yep. So make sure to like, share, and comment your questions. You'll be entered to win that Northland gift pack right there with the Bro Roadshow mug, as well as a 4-inch Scout bit, auger bit from Razor Augers. So it's an awesome little bit. It attaches right to a cordless, brushless drill, and you can zip around and pop a bunch of holes.
And it's just great for searching, a great search tool. And don't forget, you get the mug.
Yep.
The collector's
Also want to
mug.
remind everyone that all of these podcasts are available on YouTube. So if you missed anyone or have to leave early tonight, you can go to your YouTube page and check them out.
That's absolutely fantastic. And so make sure, and we will give away the stuff at the end of the show. So stay tuned on that. And now, this is a kind of a different show this time. I always have guests on here, and Sam and I interview guests. But now I get to be the interviewed, and I've been on so many other podcasts, so many other people's shows and radio shows and podcasts. But we're going to do it right here, and I've got some really stealthy tips I want to throw out. And Sam, you're taking over the show here now.
Yeah.
You're going to be the interviewee.
So Bro is our main host, but Bro is also a guide. You've guided for many, many years. You're a tournament pro. You've competed in the FLW series, the National Walleye Tour, the MWCs, Gary Roach Invitational, as well as some of the early ice tournaments. And then, too, you are a huge advocate and promoter for the sport. You and Heather have done the Bro Roadshow physically for many years, going around doing all sorts of seminars, all sorts of promotion. You're just a good guy to have in the sport and a wealth of knowledge. I think I've learned more from you fishing with you than anyone else. So,
Geez,
it's your time to shine. So we're gonna rifle through and ask you some of the questions and get some answers. So first one, we were talking a little bit about this before the show. We've had some absolutely frigid temps up in Bemidji, negative 20s. What do you do to keep your holes open on cold temperature days, especially with dead sticks?
Well, and didn't Bemidji have 38 below in some of the outlying areas here a couple days ago?
It was chilly. We went to the hockey game with some friends on Friday night, and my buddy's nose turned white in the 5-minute walk from the Sanford Center to our truck way in the back. So I don't
think he'd be a good helper guide for me then.
No, it was chilly out.
And Heather's going to be on the next show. We're going to have to do this one. So in the wintertime, and Kai's got the photo here before I bring it up. Here's the bucket system I use. Now, if you'll notice, you look in here, this is below zero, and I have a bubbler running off my bucket, and the air hose is in the hole. And so I'll run a catch cover rod holder on there that you could just slide it out and throw it in your bucket, but it doesn't freeze. And so, I've left this when I'm out guiding, or if I want to have extra lines, the bubbler after even hours doesn't freeze. And last year I was out, I had a trip, and it was minus 20, and it was kind of windy too. And so while they were I set them up in the house, and then so they're catching fish. So I'm in my truck. So I ran a bubbler outside my truck, and I set the bubbler on my dash. So you get the warm air pumping down the hole. Never freezes over. And the hole's blown over with snow, but there's no ice. And so this is my setup here. As you can see, I have a bucket, and there's my my stone that you drop in the hole, and it's weighted so that you can get it down there. And you just turn your bubbler on, and then there's your rod holder. And then when you're moving, you could just take this out. Really cool idea from Catch Cover, and your rod can move in the holder. So you set it up, put your rod right in there, and then go. And then when a fish hits, it'll pull it down. But the whole time, this thing keeps it open. So somebody, I mean, the Viper tip up from Frable has a bubbler stone on the tip up itself, and I have one, and I'm trying it. But this is how I made it through my trips during those cold weather days in the past couple of years. And then inside the bucket, I'll have a little Catch Cover also has a cup holder, and in that cup holder you can put minnows. So each bucket has a cup holder, an arm, and then also if you dig around in dollar stores, I've got a little light here that you just turn on. So it's a contraption for sure, but that's how you keep your holes open. So pick up lots of bubblers. Stop by Northwoods Bait, wherever you're going to stop. Timberline Sports and Black Duck, all the different stores around there, and pick up some bubblers, because you'll be glad you did. And they run on D batteries, and they'll last all day. If it gets like 30 below zero, the only thing you're going to get is you have to go clear a little bit of line off your ice, ice off your line right at the water level. But hopefully you're getting enough bites so you don't have to worry about that.
That is a great little idea, and I would venture to guess that most ice fishermen have one of those little Frable bubblers lying around somewhere. Again, it keeps your bait fresh on the way out there, and then keeps your holes open while you're fishing. So,
well, that's just from years of staring down an ice hole, waiting for a fish to come up. So but here I'm going to show it again because people are asking. So you got the light, got the Catch Cover, but this is going to get snapped off if you have it on there. So I just put it in a bucket. I cut a little slot in the lip of the bucket in the bubbler. Everything goes inside, and then I'm out of there. But then if I open up the top, you can look and see that I have little edge box inside. Well, what is that little container in there? I screwed in you get these little plastic containers that screws come in. So I just used it instead of throwing it away, and it works really well. Keeps your tackle from being down in the water, and you can put fish in the bottom when you have a great successful trip, and you are not going to have any ice. So I use it if I'm car door fishing, car door with guiding. Let's face it, if you're in the Dakotas, North, South Dakota, Minnesota, your guide is not going to sit out in 30 below zero all day. They're either going to be in their truck, or they're going to be in a house, and most of them go in the trucks because then they could see all their clients. Matt Newell has a snow bear, so he's going to be right next to his clients, even if they have bad breath. So all day long. But outside of that, it's a way to stay warm. But mess around. If you're in a truck, you need a long air hose, so you might have to buy some from a supply shop. So we killed that idea. So let's move on.
All righty. So speaking of cold temperatures, with these cold temperatures, a lot of the fish are hunkering down, getting a little tougher to catch. How do you turn the lookers into biters? And I've seen you do this. I've been out there with you and like, oh, they're not going to bite today. And you're like, oh, hold on. You just got to work them. There's a little blurb right on the bottom, and sooner than later, you're setting the hook.
Well, you gotta will it to happen, So, and we have a photo here to start out. You'll see my drop shots here. This is kind of, I don't have all of them lined up here. There's so many ways you could do drop shots, or I should say dropper rigs. Dropper rigs were huge 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and they've slowly kind of slid off the map, but there's got to be people still doing them out there. I'm doing them all the time, And people are getting fish swimming by and they're not biting. Well, here's a dropper rig I have here. You can see I've got the original walleye killer for Leech Lake, Winnie, and Cass Lake. And then I've got about 14 inches, and I've got a Gamakatsu hook and a bead. Well, the thing is that bead moves up and down. And you nose hook a minnow, or you could just use a minnow head, then vary the distances of your dropper rigs. I have them all different distances, but in Minnesota, please note you can't have multiple hooks. You can only have one hook, one lure presentation on one line. The only thing that's different is you could have a 3 flies. So here's that Wonder Bread color that everybody's talking about. But I'll also hold that up again. Now watch the line as I'm bringing it up. I took the treble hook off, and it's right there with a bead. And let me straighten it out there. So that way you distance your bait from your hook. And that bead's actually small. I'm just holding it right up in front of the camera. And then there's my lure. Now, if you want to, you could attach the lure with a clip, or you could have a whole bunch of dropper rigs all tied with no hooks on them. You could have a snap on one side, snap on the other, have 6-inch ones, 12-inch ones. We've even gone as far as to go to 2-foot long dropper rigs, and there's a whole bunch of different dropper rigs. I'm going to show you another one here, and we got a photo of a walleye I caught on this one coming up here. You'll see a walleye. There it is. Here's the spoon that walleye fell for, but he wouldn't eat it. He came up, swam down, and grabbed that pink, neon pink Gamakatsu hook. And that just had a minnow head on.
Like
so,
Will was talking about attraction, attraction power of glow and rattles and whatnot, but sometimes they don't want to eat it. So I think that's a perfect idea for those tough bites. You get the attraction power from the tackle, but then they just have that nice natural presentation of a minnow.
Well, and I do love tungsten. So I got a tungsten mud bug here on this dropper. There's a red glow tungsten mud bug on the little pink tiger coffin spoon. And now here I've got 8 inches of line. You could even do 4 inches of line. And for panfish, for perch, for walleyes, I see walleyes all the time. You don't see anybody doing droppers around here. In Dakotas, they have to, because they have to catch fish. I mean, there's the fish around there swimming with shrimp hanging out of their mouth. So here's the rig again. There's a red glow mud bug, 8 inches of line, and then you notice I took the treble hook off because you can't have multiple hooks on there, but you can use your treble just farther down. I've also used 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 split rings, but that is hassle to tie. And then last but not least is the drop shot rig. So here's the hook. And then as I bring it up, you'll see the sinker. And I'm using a tungsten sinker here. I'll hook a fathead and then fire it down the hole. And or I've used rainbows. Let me slow that down so you don't get dizzy. With a red Gamakatsu hook, we've in my guide times or just out fishing, you could throw a dropper down. You can't use bobbers in the winter, not outside. So you drop it down on your bubbler rig, and you've got a minnow sitting there, and it always stays at that level. It never changes because you've got it pinned to the bottom. So what you do is you drop it straight down, reel it till it's tight, and that rod starts bending, and you're set. And you decide or discern where your fish are in the water column. Then you attack by absolutely putting these rigs together. And a great point by Ed Wells, whitefish and lake trout in Michigan. It's a fantastic rig. Now, when you get over to Bay Knock and you get over to more so Sturgeon Bay, they have treble hooks tied above their spoons, and you don't bring that rig here. You can't do that. You can't have a lure and then a rig. I'd love to. And when I'm in Dakotas or over there, I tie other stuff. It's it's really cool. But the dropper rig, I've been using that for decades, close to 3 decades, and just a simple loop knot. Look up loop knot, tie it, and then once you get good at it, here's the difference. If you tie a bass drop shot with your hook right in a line, great for perch. But walleyes, not so good. Walleyes are finicky, and they won't always hit it if it's right in the line, right on the line. So I tie a little finger. Here's the little tip that I'm throwing at you right now. If you're picking up what I'm throwing down, I'll tie a 2 to 3 inch and sometimes 4-inch line. Now, if you go too far in the line, it won't hold it out. So I'll leave the double line, and if I leave enough room, I could snell that hook on with 2 lines. And I need my cheaters for that. But you could also cut one segment of line and then snell it on, or just tie it if you don't want to get complicated. But tie it at home where you can see really well. But that's your typical live bait drop shot with a finger. And so walleyes will grab it, and they will run with it. So make sure you've got a reel that free spools, or use a little rubber band, open your bail and tuck it in a rubber band. We had bro bands out there. I don't know what happened to them, but you could just use a rubber band. You can find a free one at the post office and put it on your rod handle and tuck it in so that it's actually on your handle here. I think I got it right here. There it is. That's the original bro band, where it's a live bait feeding thing. So if I open up my bail, your line just going to fall out of the reel. So what I'll do is I'll take this line and I'll tuck it under that band. So now your bail's open and your line doesn't fall out. But when a fish hits, it pulls it through. And so there's a lot of different ways to fish. And if you're fishing pike with a big sucker minnow, or walleyes with a bigger minnow, you could just use a rubber band. They don't make these anymore, but not a bad idea. It has a little tab on there, so maybe that'll get the wheels turning out there in ice fishing land. But different ways to do it. And so when it gets really tough, then also, not to go on too much, but when the walleyes are going back and forth, and now they're really, really getting fidgety, you're seeing them all the time, and you draw them in with a big coffin spoon or a bro bug spoon like this. Have a smaller mud bug tied up. Then here you say I got gold. And I got gold, and I got it on 2-pound test. No, I'm not fishing for bluegills or perch or crappies. I'm fishing for walleyes. This hook is super sharp, and it gets in that jawbone or in the back of their mouth. I load it up with waxies. Waxies are my number one for walleyes. If you got walleyes down there not biting, put on 2 or 3 waxies, or use maggots. And sometimes I'll have leeches. I try to keep some leeches alive all the way to winter, or I'll freeze some and then use pieces of leech or plastic. But there's a couple tips for everybody.
I really like that little extension line you have off the drop shot. I think most people think of the bass style. You're right there, and that little extension gives a little extra movement. It's a great idea. All right, we talked a little bit about the mud bug there and the gill getter, and you always hype me up as this big lure designer. But you have been designing lures since, I believe we talked at the beginning of the show, since I was 5 years old. I think our producer Kai was 2 years old.
Oh, no.
We came out with the first Bro Bug series. So talk a little bit about how you started designing stuff from Northland, and then what was your inspiration behind the gill getter, the mud bug, and the Bro Bug spoon?
Well, and this is the lure I designed when you're 5 years old and Kai was 2. And there I am in my old Northland vest there, and the Bro Bug spoon. But that was radical back then. Now, you could do anything crazy now. People just come up with everything you can imagine. But back then, people were like, wow, that's like very alien looking. But fast forward a few years later, we did the Bros Bug collection, because there's stuff I needed for guiding. There's stuff we needed for ice fishing, and I just wanted the stuff. That's why I designed it. But The gill getter, which we have a picture here, is part of the Bros Bug Collection. Now you'll see I got a 60-degree turned eyelet, so you could tie a loop knot around that eyelet there, and it's got a hook that points up. But all those years ago, those were lead. Now they're tungsten. And if you look at these lures closely, they have a jawbone, they have insect mandible jaw, nostrils, they have eyes, and they have a special hook that's made and that won't pop maggots, because maggots are like really wound tight in there. You could pop them, and then you got to grab a new one when you're loading them up, and they won't pop waxies. And there's one right there. That's a mud bug right there.
Mud bug.
And we could show that mud bug. I think we got a picture, don't
Here's
we?
the gill getter.
Yeah, the mud bug is round, and the name is a clue. You drop it in the mud, you pound the mud, draw the perch, the crappies, the panfish over, and they will just hammer it because insects move around the mud, and some insects are large. You know, mayfly larvae, dragonfly nymphs actually kick up a little mud when they move, and so if you pound the mud, you're going to trigger fish. And you know, if you're looking at an aqua-view camera, the fish or the perch will come in and their fins are down, and all of a sudden their fins go up. And so they're really getting mad and they're ready to go after it. So mud bug, the clue's in the name, and gill getter, it does.
All right, bro, what do you think about taking a few questions from the viewers right now?
Oh, absolutely. Bring
All
them
right.
on.
Kai, can you chalk up some questions for us?
Okay, here's one. Tony Baylor, how did you guys get started designing fishing lures? Well, Sam, yours is collegiate. Is how did that all end up? And but we don't have too much time, so how did that all end up?
Yeah, long story short, my dad is quite the craftsman, and he always kind of had this saying of, I can build anything out of wood and I can build it cheaper and better, growing up. So actually in high school, I started making musky lures, and then I ended up going to school at BSU, got a degree in art and design, and applied for an internship at Northland Tackle, and it was kind of more of a writing and that type of internship. But Eric Nag over there saw what I could do with my design work, and what I've done in the past with some of my musky lures, and saw some opportunity there. So I started working with him, and doing a lot of the lure designs, a lot of the fine tuning of bro sketches and whatnot. Bro, let's hear yours.
Well, and so you actually got in and you kind of knew and you focalized on something. And where I got into it, I just sketched ideas, and I just sketch them on napkins or on a Kleenex box I turned in one time. But sometimes you get a brainstorm and you're looking for paper and pen. I've a lot of ink pens, but I now I have a sketch pad, and so anything that comes up, I sketch it. And you have to sketch it all different sizes, and front, back, what it's good for, how big is it, what kind of different sizes, colors, and you got to have the details and why. Otherwise, it just sinks. And there's a million guys out there and gals that'll go to a tackle company and say, you should do this, but they don't show up with all the renderings. And I didn't really know what was going to happen, but it happened. And I never named the lure that. I gotta thank John Peterson for giving me the namesake and the whole the Bros Bug Collection and all that stuff. But now we have the Bro Bug spoon, and we needed something that was narrow, that dropped fast, because when you're speed fishing perch in deep basins, you're on Devil's Lake, you're on Leech Lake, but you found a rogue school of perch in Walker Bay or the main lake or Bemidji, and you're out in 18 to 30 feet of water, you got to get back down there, because perch don't always come through in schools of 50 or 100. They come in 6, 8, 10. And if you can get right back down there, you'll keep their attention. And even as they're swimming away, they'll turn. So get them up quick and then drop it back down there, and you increase your catch rates. And so that's a great question there. Corey Meyer, do fish go deeper when it's really cold? Well, here's the thing. They don't really they know that something's going on in the weather. I mean, all nature does. I mean, muskrats build big houses when there's going to be a really horrible winter. Beaver dams are huge. Everything nature knows. We don't. We have a forecaster that's right sometimes. And so you can use all this stuff, but they just know, and fish know. And so sometimes fish will just drop down to the bottom, but they don't necessarily go super deep. But I have found fish in the course of 5 hours go from 8 feet to 50 feet, perch and walleyes slowly go down. And you could see them on your AquaView camera in the wintertime. You could see them in open water. Of course, it's easy using Humminbird and side imaging at 360, but fish will go to safer levels. And in rivers, deep might be relative because there might just be a pothole, a little deep hole in one of the many pools of the Mississippi, and that might be only 6 feet deep, but normally they're in 2. So just remember that it's always good to check that, or edges. They'll just go out to the edge and remain dormant, but you always can catch fish. They're always in the tournament. Someone does catch the fish, so just remember that. And here's another one. Jess Ritchie, what is your typical crappie setup with or without live bait? Well, I love live bait. I like visiting the bait shops. I always have maggots, waxworms, and minnows, and I have like a pile of minnows. Minnows are cheap, gas is expensive, life is expensive. Don't skimp in a bait shop. Don't walk in with your 10 buddies, walk all over the place, drill them with questions, 10 people at a time like at CSI, Minnesota, and then buy a tin of waxworms. I mean, that's just not nice. It costs you more in gas to get there. Load up on bait, buy your tackle in some of the smaller places too. So, and you'll find that little tips and the same information that was given out the person before might have a little more detail if you are someone that is not holding back. And so definitely at the bait shops, load up on bait. And I'll use I start out with waxworms or mud bugs, and I'll use waxworms are nice because they make a mess. Don't you agree, Sam?
Yeah.
They spread scent, and waxworms are awesome. Maggots stay on your hook forever. And there are times when I'm using a gillget or a mud bug, I'll go down to 1 maggot. And I've even gone to 1 maggot threaded on some of these baits. And you notice this one's gold because I actually used it for walleyes the other night. And they will hit it because walleyes eat insects in the wintertime. So here's another question. Monty Mares, what are your thoughts of the best brand of cameras through the ice? It's AquaView, because AquaView created the category and everybody else just copies them. That's how, if you look at everything about underwater cameras, it was all AquaView. So why not just go with a family-owned company from Minnesota, AquaView? And they're there to answer your questions, and it's just an awesome company. And as you see on my hat, they're cool. They're a hip company. So Jeff, check out AquaView, and any AquaView is better than no camera at all. So make sure you get an AquaView. And then here's one more. Do the tracks help on a wheeler? Not only do they help on a wheeler, they help on a truck. I have tracks on my truck. I'm about to put tracks on my truck. I have to get a tune up first. And on a 4-wheeler, they have so much torque, and you could just about pull a house off its frame, but when you hit slush, they high center. So if you're ripping out there and there's slush, you're going to need a bobcat to come get you. You're going to need some kind of rescue device. In so many years, it looks good in the showroom, great in super deep snow, but add slush, there's a whole new level. Snowmobile, because the slush goes behind you. And put cleats in there when you bottom out, you can go. So we're getting close to the winner. Hey,
yep.
Sam, announce the winner of the show tonight.
We got the winner picked. Tonight's winner of the Northland Prize Pack, the Razor Auger, is Tony Beeler. So congratulations, Tony.
All right, Tony.
Thank you for sharing, and commenting your questions. We'll get that shipped off to you this week. So
enjoy your mug, your auger, all that tackle, that giant spoon. And everybody, thank you for watching. Be safe on the ice, and we will see you next Tuesday at 7. And thanks, Will, for coming out tonight.